Hello viewers to my first ever Disney review, and today I'll be reviewing the newest Disney Channel movie, Descendants. But before I get into that for my main discussion, I'd like to mention once again, I've been a channel for the past several years that has focused just on Avatar, The Last Airbender, and Legend of Korra videos, reviews, product reviews, and episode reviews and my thoughts and everything. But I decided, since Korra is over now, to try something new and something that I'm just as passionate about, which is Disney. And because I'm an animation nut, I love animation, and obviously Disney's kind of started the whole animation genre, and which has brought me to love all their new movies. Like this one is animated, for example, but it's inspired by their animated characters, all their live action and everything, but especially I'll be reviewing all their animated movies as they come out, since they release one like every year at least. And yeah, so this movie just premiered last week. I bought it on DVD, so I rewatched it today, and I've rewatched it several times since then. But yeah, let's get started, because I have a lot to say, and I'm trying not to make this video too long, because I've always tried to make them at least reasonable in my own time. But yeah, the hype for this movie as a huge Disney fan was pretty big. I heard about it years ago, that it was kind of in early production stages at that point, and it was just kind of more of a concept, like Disney villains have kids and they like interact with like the princesses and their princes and their sons and daughters, and they go to school together. That's all we knew at that point. I was like, okay, that has a lot of potential, because obviously they're playing around kind of with their old classics, their old classic characters, and maybe we'd see some of them, like, it could be like a big thing, and they could, if they do it right. And especially as like the past year or so, where we got the casting information, like footage, screenshots and everything, I saw it every now and then on like Twitter and stuff. I was like, okay, that looks different than I expected, but not really a bad thing. I was just like, oh, okay. But first off, with their outfits, their designs and everything. But yeah, anyway, I knew it had a lot of potential, so I was really looking forward to it as a big Disney fan. Initial thoughts and reaction, well, obviously if I bought it on DVD, you know I liked it. The first time through, I watched it when it premiered, but I got home like 40 minutes into it, so I was rushing to my TV to turn it on, and I got into it 40 minutes into it, so I did not know what was happening. I was just kind of going with what I already knew, which was very little. I didn't actually know much of the story. But I still enjoyed it. And once again, this was my reaction the first time through. I was throughout it, I was like, okay, this isn't really that good critically, but as a fan, I'm kind of enjoying it. It's really cheesy sometimes at times, and I didn't know it was a musical at first. That surprised me. I was like, oh, okay, it's a musical, which I don't really mind that. I know a lot of people don't like musicals whatsoever. I loved them since childhood. As a Disney fan, I like all the musical numbers and everything. So that didn't bother me. It was just more of a surprise. But yeah, so the first time through, I was like, okay, that was okay. But then I decided to rewatch it again all the way from the beginning, because maybe I missed something, and I did. Pretty big at the beginning, because I'll get into the plot later and what I thought of that, but I did not know what the goal was for Mal going to Auradon. I did not know that Maleficent like told her to go get the fairy godmother's wand to bring it back to her, so they could set themselves free and get their revenge. I didn't know that part, so whenever they were talking about that, I was just like, what are they talking about? What's the wand, and why don't they use their magic more often in Auradon and all that stuff? It was just really weird. And Yeah, it was interesting, but the second time through, I found myself really enjoying it, and even more than the first time. And then I watched it again, then I found myself loving it even more, and then now I just love this movie. And on Disney Channel standards, it's probably my favorite. And I do think it's more of a favorite than technically a best, because at times it really is cheesy, and like Disney Channel, it's made for kids, and with them playing with different Disney characters, sometimes with them referencing different things so much, it can be that. But for what it is, I think it's really good. And once again, it kept my interest all the way through, which is something that Disney Channel, especially throughout the years, I remember being obsessed with High School Musical years ago, than all of them. So, but there were always a few things that kind of I didn't really care about, several scenes. This one kept my interest all the way through, which is rare for at least a Disney Channel movie. So yeah, overall, I was really impressed with what they did, and I think it met my expectations, and at this point exceeded it. And yeah, it met the potential that there was for it. So the summary, basically, I'll just sum this up as fast as I can. Belle and the Beast are the rulers of the kingdom of Auradon, United States of Auradon, as they're called in the as it's called in the introduction. And right after they got married, he united all the kingdoms. I think they said in United States of Auradon, and he banished all the villains to the Isle of the Lost, and put a magical barrier around it that they couldn't break. So they're kind of trapped there. And over time, obviously, they had their kids, and they're kind of trapped there too. And same with Auradon, all the princes and princesses have kings and queens. All of them have their kids, and they're kind of That's pretty much the main backstory that you get, and then you kind of jump into them going to the high school because the Prince Ben, son of Beauty and the Beast, wants to give them a chance because he sees them as innocent, and he convinces Belle and the Beast to bring the 4 main kids that need their help the most over and let them live with them and go to school with them and just work with them to try to give them a chance at their freedom. So yeah, that's pretty much the main story, and then Mal falls in love with Ben and all that, but I'll get into that later. That's the main summary, I guess you could say. And the soundtrack is really, really good. I love the soundtrack, and I think yesterday it hit #1 on the Billboard top 200, I think, which I think they said that's the 3rd Disney Channel movie to ever do that, behind High School Musical 2, the first High School Musical, which is really good, obviously. And it's been doing really good on iTunes. They released the karaoke version and all that. And yeah, I just found myself really enjoying all the musical numbers, the dances, the songs. And I bought several songs from the soundtrack, and I listened to them on loop, literally. And it's great. They're really great and catchy songs. And one of the songs, Be Our Guest, they remixed Be Our Guest from Beauty and the Beast, obviously. And Ben, being the son of Beauty and the Beast, they gave it to him to sing, kind of lead I guess you could say, the group in singing it. It's kind of like an acapella / rap type of remix. Yeah, it's interesting, but I like it. I know a lot of people's hating on them for ruining a Disney classic song, but I thought for what it was kind of cool. Very good acting was one of the big pros that I have on my list, and sometimes that seems to be a big problem with Disney Channel movies, because either they're just starting out, they're from a Disney Channel show, so even though I think they're pretty good, they're not obviously in the big budget movies, you know, that type of actor. But in this, especially all the villains and the villain kids, I felt they did a really good job playing their role, and I was really impressed with that, at least for Disney on Disney Channel movie standards. The characters were another thing that I liked. They were really relatable. They had depth, growth, and they all learned a lesson. Some more than others, but in the end, you can definitely see the lesson that each of them learned. Especially with Mal, the main character, daughter of Maleficent, and Evie, daughter of the Evil Queen. The budgeting for Disney Channel movies is normally pretty low, and you see that in the special effects. You can normally tell it's a green screen in all their TV shows and movies. I always just say, once again, it's Disney Channel, and TV movie budgets are never that big when you look at it, especially a Disney Channel movie where they're going to be targeting kids who won't really care. You know, so they never really get that much money to make it. I didn't look up how much money they got to make Descendants, if that information is out. But overall, from what I saw, the budgeting didn't bother me. It wasn't as, the special effects weren't as glaring as some of them have been in the past. I thought the costumes, sets, and most of the props were really good, really unique and well done. Same with the CGI dragon at the end when Maleficent turns into the dragon at Ben's coronation. And yeah, I just thought the dragon looked really good, especially for Disney Channel. It's like, wow, bravo. But some props were kind of, they didn't look as good as the other things. I'm not as harsh on it as some critics have been. Like, for example, Ben's ring and the Beast's crown, which I guess turns into, Ben gets the crown at the end, but still, that crown, it does look fake, and it does, I've heard it looks like plastic, blah, blah, blah. It works for me because, once again, it's Disney Channel. I don't really judge these movies that harshly. Obviously, critics, that's their job to kind of pick at things, but overall, it didn't really bother me, but I think they could have done a little bit better. But overall, this small issue doesn't outweigh the positives with the budgeting and for this movie. The romance focus wasn't like I thought it would be, which is a good thing. Obviously, as a Disney fan, most of their big movies are like the princess meets the prince in various different scenarios, and Disney Channel movies, all the two main characters end up together and in a relationship, then their friends get in a relationship and all that stuff. There's always couples everywhere. There's always romance and drama and all that stuff. And in this movie, there is no exception. But in this movie, something different that it does, for example, with Audrey, daughter of Sleeping Beauty, and you can tell right away that she does not like Mal, obviously, because of what her mother did to Aurora. So you can tell right away they don't like each other, and Audrey introduces herself as Ben's girlfriend, and you can tell kind of Mal looks at Ben and kind of falls in love with him, I guess you could say, or kind of has a crush on him. So I was like, oh great, this is going to start all the drama stuff. And they didn't get along, they kind of went back and forth, but once again, it was understandable because, I mean, her mother cursed her parent, and tried to kill them both. So, forgive and forget. But overall, I can kind of see where Audrey's coming from. But yet, this was the main reason for them disliking each other. It wasn't because they were kind of fighting over Ben, like you see a lot. So it helped with not having too much just drama back and forth between the girls fighting over a guy. And so yeah, I just really like that. And so it was different than a lot of Disney Channel movies are. Many Disney references were made throughout the whole movie. For example, in the museum, you saw several different things on like TV screens, like the monitors, security cameras, and everything. You saw I saw the rose from Beauty and the Beast, the glass dome around it, I think Cinderella's slipper, the Little Mermaid Tritons, the Triton thing, yeah. And what else? I don't really know. Aladdin's lamp, a few other things, and obviously you have the characters and their offspring, and you see actually Belle and the Beast. So obviously there's many Disney references there, and like I said, they bring back Be Our Guest, and make real in the dialogue. There's a lot of different small references, some larger than others, and some play a bigger role than others. But overall, I just really like that as a Disney fan. I thought it was really fun. There were several surprising moments, which kind of, the first time through at least, made the movie for me. I was like, wow. Normally, these movies are really predictable, but I honestly did not see that coming. I know, surely some people did, but I just honestly didn't. And one of those was at the end of the movie, right before the coronation, when Ben and Mal are riding up to the steps. You see their whole conversation, which is a really good scene. And it turns out that Ben truly loves Mal. It's not just because of the love potion that she put on him, the spell, which I really liked because he said it was washed away in the enchanted lake on their first date. So he knew, but he and then she said, so you've been faking it? And then he said, I'm not faking anything. And I really like this because it was pretty obvious. It's Disney Channel. You knew they were going to end up together. And it added to the characters and their relationship because I didn't like how Mal just put a spell on Ben. Because, well, the first time through, obviously I didn't know why she did it. The reason why she did it was to be able to get front row at Ben's coronation, because it's only for his family and girlfriend and so forth. So that's why she put the spell on him, so she would be able to grab the wand when she got the chance and take off for the Isle of the Lost. So it's way better than I originally thought. I thought it was just jealousy, trying to upset Audrey, trying to steal her guy and that stuff. It's like, okay, and more drama, but it turns out there was actually something to the story, which I caught obviously the second time when I watched all the way through. And I'm reading my notes because there's a lot that I kind of want to say. Yeah, like I said, at least the spell just wasn't out of jealousy. There was actually relevance to the plot. And also, they made Mal regret the spell, and kind of in several scenes you saw her kind of thinking about it, and after she had already put the spell on him and fallen for her and went on a date and everything, it wasn't as cliche as it may sound because of that, because she ends up regretting it and knowing that when villains do invade Ordon and win, she wants to break the spell instead, because she says just having Ben still be in love with her would be cruel, to quote the movie. So yeah, that just added to it, and their whole dynamic. I ended up, I guess I could say, like I said, I'm in the Avatar and Korra fandom, so obviously there's a ton of shipping on Tumblr and everything. I've seen a ton of shipping for this movie with all the couples, and Ben and Mal is like my OTP. I love Ben and Mal. Their dynamic and everything. I love Mal as a character, same with Ben. He's just really awesome, and Mal, her character arc throughout the movie, and the decision that she makes at the end. So yeah, I knew they were going to end up together, and I was really happy to how they played out, and it wasn't out of jealousy, but there was a story there, and she ended up regretting it, but at the same time fell in love with him. So yeah, that's a lot to say. So I'm sorry if I kind of jumbled together, but overall I really like their relationship and how they played with that. Another surprise, which I definitely did not see coming, was that Jane swipes the fairy godmother's wand in the coronation, because they play it really well. They trick the audience, because obviously you see Maleficent watching, and she's like, don't blow it, and she's waiting for her daughter to do what she sent her there to do, to grab the wand and take off with it. So you just see an arm reach out and grab it right quick, and you don't know who it is. And I get, you obviously just think it's Mal, because she's like looking at it. I at least thought she was going to swipe it, and I thought she would end up good, obviously, because Disney, happy ending, and end up with Ben and all that stuff. But I thought she would at least swipe it and then decide to go good. But it didn't exactly go out that way. It was actually a fairy godmother's daughter who swiped it to try to make her beautiful, which was mentioned earlier in the movie. So, in doing this, she accidentally broke the barrier at Isle of the Lost by shooting something at it, and it broke, and Maleficent escaped because they were free now. And yeah, that whole scene, right when I saw it, it was really shocking. So that was really well done, because yeah, I love that scene and that whole trick and how it played out. They did really good on that. And the ending, Mal's evil green eyes, I definitely did not see that coming. I figured there'd be a sequel because it's Disney Channel. They often make sequels for their big hits, just like this one seems to be. But obviously, they normally don't really set them up like this, at least. Like with High School Musical, they left it open where they could be a sequel, but they didn't really set it up. And this is pretty much a given that they kind of have to make a sequel if they're doing this. Because to quote the movie, if I can remember it correctly, during the last musical number, Set It Off, you see toward the end of the song and the end of the movie, Mal like hug Ben and then turn her head, look back, and her eyes start glowing green, which is something you saw her doing against Maleficent. And she had like an evil grin, and she said, "You didn't think this story was over yet, did you?" Basically, that's not quote for quote, but yeah. So yeah, the setup that possibly it seems to me how I took it that she's still evil, and now she wants to kind of bring down Ordon from the inside. That's how I kind of took it, because I guess this means now she's the queen because she's with Ben, so technically she could take him down from the inside. She has her magic. And Maleficent, she was turned into like the little lizard, but I don't know, could she turn her back, Mal, and that could have been the whole plan when they were staring at each other with their eyes? Could they have been plotting or something? That's kind of my thought. But yeah, a sequel setup was definitely unexpected for me, and I loved it. So yeah, Ben truly being in love with Mal, not just the potion, Jane swiping the fairy godmother's wand instead of Mal, and the ending of Mal's evil like kind of setup for the sequel. That was great. Mal's still evil. Awesome. And overall, Descendants did not disappoint me at all as a big Disney fan. I think the story, like characters, references, musical numbers were spot on. And it's definitely one of my favorite. I think I'm claiming it as my favorite Disney Channel movie now. I still think critically, High School Musical, I just think High School Musical and all of them, especially the second one, are just really good movies overall. I think this one's really cheesy at times. I think it's a good movie, but not as good as them just because of that. But as a favorite, yes. I would probably say it's my favorite for the content and everything. It's just a really fun movie, and I really enjoyed it and still do. And like I said, I definitely want a sequel. They set it up, and it seems very likely, and I just can't wait. I really hope so. And I kind of gave my thoughts for a possible sequel. I've seen several fan theories, like, throughout the movie, there were several scenes that kind of could be explained more. Obviously, they have, like, an endless list of characters and villains they could bring for a sequel and their children. But especially Ursula, since she's, like, one of the main ones that you see a lot, she wasn't in there. So you could have that, Ariel's daughter and all that. And obviously Belle and Beast, since they're kind of leaders, and Ben and Mal, their whole like relationship, how it grows, if she's truly evil or if that was something else to kind of tease from something else. And also Ben kind of got beast instincts, is what I'm calling it, through the movie. You saw him kind of charging and yelling. Like, I saw this one thing like, what if he still has, since his father's the beast, or was like the beast form, if he has some of that in him and he'll have to turn into a beast, and now being evil still will have to end up loving him and letting that go. That's not really my theory, it's just one that I saw, and that would explain kind of his, some more of his character in the movie, which is good, I guess. But yeah, that's my main thought for a sequel. Going to the Isle of Lost, getting to know more villain kids, have an actual invasion of Oridon. Maybe that could be like a number 3 or a trilogy or something. But yeah, overall, Descendants was really good. Really, really good. The music and everything, the characters are really relatable. Like Mal, her character arc is amazing. How they choose not to be like their parents, they can choose their own destiny. Even though I think now, like the ending said, she's still evil, but she's not like she was. And Ben was just a great character overall. And all of them had a story. Evie, especially, uh, yeah, Evie was a great character too, just overall. She was really funny. She was definitely the girly girl and like the really different from the other villain kids because all she cared about was finding a prince and all that stuff. And then she ended up, she doesn't have to have like a prince to make her happy. They kind of had their relationship, her and Dopey's son Doug, to kind of, they kind of got together in the end. I guess they were dancing together. I don't know, but yeah, they could develop more relationships like that and everything. But yeah, like I said, it's really good. If you haven't seen it, go see it. And if you love Disney, I don't think you would dislike it. The critical and fan response has been pretty positive, especially for a Disney movie. A lot of people's claiming this is the best since like Camp Rock, High School Musical, and all of them. And like I said, critically, I don't really know, but as a fan, definitely, it's just as entertaining, if not more. The content's great, had a lot of potential. They definitely lived up to the hype, in my opinion, and did not disappoint. So yeah, that was my review for Descendants. Once again, this is my first time not reviewing anything related to my other videos. This is my first of a Disney kind of review and rewatch series I'm going to do. So yeah, feel free to leave comments if you're new to my channel or if you now find this because it's not Avatar and Korra related, you weren't in that fandom and you just found me until now because of you searched Disney or whatever. Welcome, and yeah, give me thoughts, critical feedback, and yeah, thanks for watching.